Thank you, Michele, very much, because I also like very much when I listen to the scientists, the researchers. They usually start from very clear initial conditions, the 4 pillars, and then they end up in a completely chaotic, incomprehensible point which the operator made good to switch it off the light. So we don't draw any conclusion, but I think I appreciate it very much, at least the very clear, let's say, understanding the very clear design of the 4 pillars. We will come back again because you already mentioned the flexibility, the storage, the physical development of the nets, and finally you mentioned the city. So smart cities, again, this kind of optimization of the system. And this is the best assist for me, therefore, to introduce the last speaker, Thomas Madreiter, is in fact the director of the development of the urban city of Vienna, so the urban development and planning of Vienna. So we are not talking about a little village. It's an important capital, and therefore I'm very eager now to listen how Vienna plans ahead with concrete plans that should put together what we saw and we heard before, flexibility in the generation, transmissions, and demand. So please, Thomas, the floor is yours.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for inviting me. I would say I'm something like an alien. I'm an alien from the galaxy of urban planning, but thank you for inviting me to this conference. So, I think at the beginning I have to say some sentences to the role of cities. As you know, cities are growing, cities in Europe are growing, cities worldwide are growing, but we not only have to discuss the role of the cities, we also have to discuss the role of the citizens. They are more than consumers. Earlier we talked about the consumers. Some sentences to the growing of Vienna. Vienna is growing very fast at the moment, so we have to discuss in the city the quality of the growing, and for us the essential point is to create a growing of the city without a growing of the consumption of resources in the same dimension. For example, you can see it below in the field of mobility. In the last 20 years in Vienna, more people, better mobility, less cars. It's the short story in Vienna. At the moment, only 27% of all trips are done by private car. But we are always talking about technical issues. I think the relevant issue in the city, the social issues. This understanding, I think, is responsible, therefore, that Vienna in the moment is the #1 in the worldwide ranking of Mercer of quality of life. People makes a city happen, and I think when we are talking about a smart city, we always have to know a smart city is not something like a technical gadget. A smart city is at the beginning and at the end a city. Some information to the energy consumption in Vienna. As you can see, in the moment, Vienna is a sort like a 3,000 watt city. You know, Swiss wants to become a 2,000 watt city. I think this is not so bad at the moment. And the CO2 per capita in the moment a year is 5.5 tons per capita. What's our strategic approach in Vienna? We have a lot of sector strategies, urban development plan, mobility plan, climate protection plan, FDI plan, and so on and so on. They all have a runtime about 10 years. What's new? New is our Smart City Framework Strategy. What's the difference? Our Smart City Framework Strategy has a runtime abroad till 2050, and I will talk about the key goals and the key measures. At the beginning, I will talk about the process of creation of this strategy. At the beginning, we started with the stakeholder process. We had support from the Federal Republic of Austria, thanks to Mr. Paul and Mr. Schwarz. They are both here in the conference. And we had support from the set plan. We are taking part in the Transform project. But The essential thing is, in Vienna, smart city is a democratic process. This framework strategy has been adopted by the City Council of the City of Vienna. Smart city strategy in Vienna is an umbrella strategy. It's the framework for all the sector strategies, and so it defines the main goals of the whole development of the city, from the culture to the economic development over the social development. So, we have 3 key action fields for our smart city strategy. I would say first, resources, absolutely clear. We have to reduce our consumption of resources dramatically. Second, it's the field of innovation. I think the basis of a smart city must be an innovative city. And third, the quality of life. What stands Vienna for? Vienna stands for a social city and for a balanced quality of life, not only for the rich people, not only for the middle class people. Our slogan in Vienna is left nothing, no one of the people behind. So, what should be similar in 2050 than today? We hope that in 2050 Vienna is also than today the #1 worldwide in quality of life. What should be changed? The consumption of resources. Minus 80% greenhouse gas emission in the city of Vienna. And I think this is a bit different to the European goal, because Vienna had in 1990 a very efficient level. We want also to change from the 3,000 watt per capita to 2,000 watt. But if you're interested, here you can find it in our smart city strategy, you can find it in the internet. So you can ask me, did Vienna walk the talk? Yes, we do. I give you some small examples. We have started with solar power plants financed by the citizens of Vienna. They had been sold out in 24 hours. Or we have created a smart city agency to do the information of the people. I think we have to change the behavior of the people, we have to change the behavior of the citizens, so we have to communicate with them. We have established a permanent communication process in the city, a permanent stakeholder process with meetings with all relevant groups from the industry over the research sector over the whole civil society. What is an advantage to Vienna? I would say Vienna is more than a simple city. Vienna is more than a simple city administration. Vienna is a lot more. Vienna is a public transport authority, a port authority. We have an airport. We have our park and ride systems. We are responsible for the energy supply, for the district cooling and heating, for the water supply. It's everything owned by the city of Vienna. Over forest and agricultural enterprise in the city, the real estate development in the city, public housing in the city. The city of Vienna owns about 220,000 flats. It's the biggest flats owner worldwide. We have our own agencies for economy, arts and science, and so on and so on and so on. What's the idea behind? A smart city needs a very strong city behind. At the end, let me conclude. What's our vision of a smart city? I think the vision of a smart city in Vienna depends very strong to traditional qualities of a city. A smart city is a city, as I mentioned, not a technical gadget. People make the change happen. So for us, the social aspect is extremely relevant. Second, we need a tremendous reduction of the resources consumption. Therefore, technical innovations are necessary but not enough. For us, a key aspect is a compact city. We need compact cities. This is the basis for sustainable cities. Third, innovation with the people. And for us, innovation are more than only technical innovations. We need also social innovations. As I mentioned before, we have to change the behavior of the people. I think this is a sort of a change management process, you know, from enterprises. This is not always simple. This is not always easy. You have to talk a lot. For example, how to use a passive house in the field of social housing. This is not simple. This is a tricky question. Second question, how to establish multimodal solutions in mobility. For us, a transform in the energy system is not only a transform in the electric system. Therefore, you have to establish a learning process with the people. I think from the European side, from the European Communion, we need a support of the deployment. This is very essential for us in the cities. Let me do this joke at the end. I'm not a member of the Church of Scientology. I'm a member of the Church of Appliantology. We need no more paperwork. We need deployment. We need pilot projects financed. And we need a social acceptance for smart cities. I think there we have a bit of lack in the moment. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Thomas. I really appreciate your speech for two reasons. First of all, because you already started a competition with another country like Denmark, who will be the first to provide the best ever possible quality of life to our citizens. I like to have more than two countries, but I think this is already a good start. Second, because I think you highlighted something that we, scientific community, maybe we don't put in the very first row whenever we develop, we think how to develop future solution for the energy system, which is, again and again, citizen. And I appreciate it very much that in your three main avenues, so the resources, the quality of life, and innovation, the very first enabler you mentioned is education. I think we need this social dimension, education, culture, involvement, direct involvement of the citizen. I think it should be better highlighted, better considered for the future actions that we need to develop within the action plan. So it's not only physical, technical, engineering, but also social. And I appreciate very much that you put this emphasis. Now, I'm personally in front of a very high-level dilemma. The four speakers, again, gave me now the impetus for a series of questions that I also, let's say, prepare myself while listening to them. And I would also like to listen to you. But I also know myself that I am, with my speakers, I am here in between you and the coffee. So what comes first, the coffee or the intellectual curiosity, intellectual question? So let's say, as we are in Italy, so it's a land of compromise. You know, you never know black and white. We like gray, we like soft. Yes, you saw yesterday even in the transportation system was an excellent demonstration of flexibility. So I think that I was also victim myself, but I like to enjoy 1 hour and a half waiting on the street and then finally go to the best, the most prestigious location for the dinner. So, okay, having decided for a compromise, we have room for two questions. So I'd like first to give you the priority. If you do have to raise two questions, otherwise, of course, I can raise myself 1 or 2 questions, different aspects I learned from social aspect to storage, which is clearly important to know what are the technology, how to better integrate the different networks, how to integrate also different energy carriers. But again, I think it's better to give the floor to all of you if you do wish to have quick questions and quick answer, please. So I see the very first hand, please. If you can get a microphone.
I will do my best. Not this time. The question from the gentleman from Vienna. Why is social assessment so difficult from abroad?
Excuse me, can you repeat, because I think...
Yes, a question to the gentleman from Vienna. Why is social acceptance so difficult from abroad? Some smart cities seem so fashionable.
No, it does work.
I try a very simple answer. The people are in fear that they can't steer their own life. They can't control their own life. And so I think we have to manage the change in that way that the people can decide about their own life. It's so simple.
Yeah, yes, I think it's a question of trust. We need to gain back again trust from the citizen, that the people are working in their interest. This is something trivial, very easy, but not so very well accepted. And again, also I think is a very good example. But in other fields, in other countries, the situation is even much worse. Second question, please.
Most of your presentations refer to the role of standardization to enable leading providers of new technologies to run down the cost curve as fast as possible. Within the development and application of those technologies obviously doesn't stop in Europe, it also happens in other places in the world. Within the context of TTIP, the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership that the EU is negotiating with the US, should the European Commission, as the chief European negotiator of that agreement, put more emphasis on standards for new energy technologies, particularly energy storage and smart grids, within TTIP, the negotiations?
Who does want to reply? Michele?
Well, I think that the work on standardization and interoperability is well established, especially for the smart grids, including, I would say, the standard or the average technologies of smart grid, except storage for the moment, because this is still quite a big challenge also in terms of standardization. So I think that there is the work, in fact, of standardization and interoperability at the beginning started in the US. It has been very quickly exported and enhanced very, very much at European level. And now at European level, we have a certain number of common standards. I would count them in the hundreds. So there is still a lot of effort in terms of optimization. But there are basic concepts that nowadays are fully understood in terms of standard architectures, in terms of aspects which are linked with communication protocols and standard information and data model. So I think these are things that nowadays, as far as smart grids are concerned, need to be really promoted. Also with the industry and with the operators, because nowadays these things are well established, and this is an effort that we are trying to bring forward also in Italy, trying to bring together the technology provider associations and industries to use and to bring solutions that are according to standards and that are according to the up-to-date interoperability standards and approaches.
Thank you, Michele. Just as a complementary answer, you know that as far as interoperability is concerned, US and Europe they signed an MOU, and we are going to inaugurate at the GRC in Ispra next September the Interoperability Center, which is the sister system on what is an Argonne National Lab, which was inaugurated about a year ago. So I think that this will allow European and US to collaborate better on aligned standards, if it's not the same, aligned standards, and to support industry to get a real unified market, US and Europe. So I think interoperability is clearly at the center for the core business of the future integration and flexibility of the energy system, in particular respect to EV introduction to the system. Thank you very much. I think there is a question up there. Thank you.
Yes. Giovanni Cagliati from Laboratory of Citizenship Sciences from Rome. It was very interesting discussion, and especially for the point that touched the widening of the energy systems to a large array of sectors. And I think that from the result of a research that we are carrying out on anticipatory experiences in Europe, so local experiences that already anticipated some basic feature of a future low-carbon society, it emerged that there is one kind of energy that normally is not considered in the energy system, that is the energy that comes directly from the body, that especially in mobility is very important, for example, for cycling, walking, and we have seen that this kind of energy is arising in the experiences that have already done some important step toward low-carbon society. So I would like to know from the speakers if they think that it can be important to put into the energy system, and especially in the study of energy system, this kind of energy.
I tried to show it in Vienna. A bit less than 40% of the whole energy consumption goes to the mobility sector, so it's absolutely clear if we can foster these forms of mobility, we can reduce the energy consumption essentially.
If I may add something, it is you need to take into consideration efficiencies. Of course, it's different forms of energy. A sandwich is a very different form of energy of a barrel of oil. But the efficiency of a man moving is about 0.1%, while a very old car is about 25%, and an electric car is, if you take it on the entire cycle, it is more than 70 or 80%. So I think, of course, it's different types of energy.
We need to close. My very, very last question to our friends from EDF and Energinet. If I do have to conclude something on the possible scaling up models and concept for district heating and cooling, and how they can be extended to larger entities. So how do you see the technology? Are they there? What are still possibly missing? What do you suggest to us in the action plan to consider for the future development of this more flexible system based on your experience? So both from industrial point of view and you, TSO. Thank you. If you want to reply.
First of all, I would say that today there is yet a lot of synergy between different energy systems, between electricity and gas, between heat and power generation, and this should be the way. The good way to solve the solution is to combine the different sources in a clever way, we taking advantage of the different sources. We may develop, for example, conversion of electricity to hydrogen in order to develop new way of mobilities. The question maybe is, in order to connect different technologies, is to concern is with efficiency and cost today, because the efficiency is not in order for traces is not efficient, and we need to make research in this field. I think it's an interesting way for research for research in the future.
Thank you, Alain. So Inge, you have the privilege for the very, very last comment. Thank you.
On mobility, or?
Yes, on flexibility. How, again, if you can give us a final message, how to improve the possible flexible future energy system based on your experience?
How we can prove it?
Yes, if technologies are there, if you would like to see develop or better develop in one direction is better than other.
I don't think I understand the question, sorry.
So if you do look at your experience in Denmark, no, and you have to choose what is the next most important step to scale up all your experience and definitely to assess, what would you recommend us to do?
I think the next step would be to change regulations within the different sectors, because as they are now, at least in Denmark, they work against each other. The incentives in one sector can actually work against incentives in other sectors. So I think we have to look much more cross-sectoral on the regulation. That goes for Denmark, but probably also on a European level, cross-country.
Thank you, Inge. And now you can go to take your own coffee. Thank you very much. And thanks to the speakers.